It will not work.
No. That's why I'm saying I don't believe it. Because if the East African bloc is not working,
how do you expect the Continental how will you jump?
How will you jump?
How will you jump? When you look at the current challenges, and I've been pushing. Right, I even did what we did one of the paper under EABC on open skies. Imagine a ticket from here, Kigali to Kampala, costing $320.
Oh my God, a lot of money.
A lot of money. When 320 can take you to Dubai.
That's what I'm
saying. These are the restrictions.
How do you manage that?
When we did the simulation, the way we treat our airlines, they should be treated as domestic airlines.
Of course.
Because of regional integration. But currently, Rwanda Air, when it lands in Uganda, it is treated as an international airline. They charge it exorbitantly. The fees, the landing fees, airspace fees, and different charges.
I was informed that actually the ticket is not expensive, but the landing fees is what makes it expensive.
Landing fees and handling fees
is what makes it expensive.
Those are the restrictions.
Hello there. Good afternoon, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us at the Voices podcast. Today we have a special guest in the studio, and today we have Mr. John Bosco Kalisa. Yeah, for sure. I've been, during my tenure with the EABC, I used to be invited by TV Rwanda to share my insight about regional integration and the private sector in particular, and how we are performing as a region. But of course, recently when I left the East African Business Council, I've been trying to work closely with the New Times, and I want to appreciate them, and also East African newsletter and other media platforms. They always invite me to share my insights and ideas about regional integration and the continental integration. That's basically my area of expertise and capabilities. And I'm always excited to share my views, ideas on how best we can drive growth, especially at the continental level. I mean, to start us off, would you walk us through your journey, your career journey to where you are today?
No, I've been... it has been very exciting journey. Exciting in the sense that, of course, I'm a Rwandan by nationality. Of course, I grew in Uganda. I was educated in Uganda. Then I came here. I completed my undergraduate from National University of Rwanda in economics. By that time, we were very few who did economics. A big number or a big chunk of our colleagues went to National Bank. I went to the Ministry of Finance. I worked in the Ministry of Finance for just 6 months. Then from there I went to Private Sector Federation. Generally, I was in the...
When was that?
That is from 2000 to 2009. So I worked with the Rwanda Private Sector Federation for 9 years.
As the
director responsible for regional integration.
Okay.
So I was really part of the team that worked with other colleagues on Rwanda accession to EAC. So I really I had a passion and a commitment to drive
What do you mean by Rwanda access to EAC?
By that time, when I joined the private sector, by the new what we call new EAC was established in 1999. The treaty, but the ratification took place in 2000. So it means there were 3 countries that were a member of East African community. That's Kenya, Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania. Rwanda and Burundi joined in 2007. So I was on the negotiating team from the private sector point of view for Rwanda accession to EAC. So that's why I'm saying that by that time Rwanda had not joined the East African community. They joined in 2007. Yeah, so
if I can simply take you back before we even dive into the conversation of today.
Yes.
What were the key points that you were raising during that conversation that Rwanda should join, Burundi should join the East Africa? What were the main issues that you're raising? Yeah,
the issues were very clear and pertinent. And again, I want to thank and appreciate our leadership, the government, especially His Excellency the President, because has been very open in terms of what we call market access. So when you look at the East Africa, now the new East Africa, it is a private sector-led integration, what we call people-centered integration and private sector-led integration. So by us joining, we are looking at generally the government and the private sector. We are pushing for the market access so that the Rwandan goods, Rwandan produced goods and services can access a wider market. Currently, we are talking about 14 million population. EAC is 330 million. So it's a wider market. And when you look at the rationale behind integration, is a market for your goods and services. And when you look at the principles, what we call freedom, movement of people, movement of goods, right of establishment, it was really a good move for the country, but also on the private sector. We wanted Rwandan producers, investors to access a wider market, which by then was the EAC. And from integration point of view, the first point of entry or reference is your neighbor. You must trade with your neighbor because the transaction cost or trade costs, when you trade with your neighbor, more reduced. They are lesser than when you are trading with the wider, maybe the wider community, because there are logistics and transport costs associated with that. So I say that by that time I was pushing for the Rwandan private sector federation and its members to engage at the regional level to take advantage of market access, a wider market, to take advantage of the investment, but also not on the other side, even attract regional investors. When you look at the current investment, you find that regional investors take a leading role. Investors from Kenya talk about like Equity Bank, KCB. So it is through when they saw it fit. When Rwanda opened, they were able to come and invest here. So that's very important with the regional integration, because regional integration, for its intents and purposes, it should be a welfare enhancing. It must benefit the citizen. The second one must be private sector led, meaning that private sector should be at the forefront of the regional integration. So those were the principles I was pushing during the negotiation. How Rwanda, and I'm happy that even my tenure at the EABC, and maybe I will speak to that, I was the first Rwandan CEO to lead the East African Business Council. And it is because there is what we call equal sharing of opportunities under the treaty. All partner states must share opportunities. So it gave an opportunity, an equal privilege, and equal rights to all the citizens within the community. So I think that was the key, that was pertinent. Then when I left the PSF, that's when I joined the Trademark East Africa. I worked here in Rwanda as a senior program manager, but pushing also for trade facilitation. And we did a number of programs in Rwanda. And from there, I was elevated to be the country director for Trademark East Africa, South Sudan. And that's from South Sudan, that's when I joined the East African Business Council. Basically, my journey has been a regional expert and private sector driven expert because I've been pushing for the interests of the private sector. And when you look at the growth of countries, private sector should be at the forefront of it should be an engine of growth of any country. So the role of the government is already clear, is creating a necessary environment for the private sector to drive growth or to drive prosperity.
So from the EABC, where are you now?
From EABC, when I left EABC last year, July. And when I left, I established a business advisory council called East African Business and Investment Advisory Council, registered with RDB here. But at the same time, I'm the director responsible for partnership and engagement under Pan-African Organization for Small and Medium Enterprises at the Continental level. Its headquarters is in Nigeria. But I'm also on a different board, advising private sector, advising the government. Just returned from Botswana, where we work. We've been working closely in terms of looking at the transformation of countries. So I work on different board, both at the regional level, but also at the continental level. But all the time pursuing the interests of the private sector.
So, Mr. Kalisa, you made history as the first Rwandan to lead the EABC during the time you led in 2021, 2024.
Yes.
What would be the achievements that you think you left behind that will be looked at as the Kalisa's achievements?
Let me start before I speak about my achievements. I took over the position of CEO of EABC during a very difficult period. That was the era of COVID. And you know the repercussions or the impact of COVID on our economies and the private sector. So it was a very difficult situation, or an unprecedented situation. And there I had really to reposition East African Business Council. Reposition it to say that I had to re-engineer and reignite the growth of the private sector. By that time, when you look at the numbers, the intra-regional trade had declined by almost 70% due to COVID. And
the intra-regional trade
yes,
had declined
from 17% to 13%.
Yeah.
So when I took over,
a decline of 4%.
4%. When I took over, I had to revamp or ignite the growth of the
to reverse the decline.
To reverse the decline. And that is through the recovery agenda, which I engineered in terms of giving the private sector voice, basically addressing what we call non-tariff barriers around our borders. I was very vocal in my advocacy agenda, and I ensured that business is not hampered by the restrictions which were erected by our partner states. So I really made it clear, and I was on various media platforms advocating that we can maintain and ensure that the health precautions are taken into account, but shouldn't hamper the trade. And it is on the record that within that period, when I was the CEO of EABC, the growth of private sector was very high. I doubled the growth numbers.
But also, yes, you doubled in the growth. However much
from a 4% decline. By the time I left, the intra-regional trade had doubled to almost 21%.
That was good.
But from also institutional point of view, when I joined the EABC, they only had 90 companies that were paid up members. By the time I left when we had 200 members, paid up members to EABC. So I doubled even the revenue of the organization. Also looking at other development partners, the partnership I forged with the different organizations, including Afrexim Bank, including Trademark Africa, including USAID, including Agra. I really forged a strong partnership. And it is on record that when I was the CEO, I positioned EABC on the global stage. But now it is even visible that there is a decline. Since I left, everyone is calling me back.
So you mean Adrian is not doing the best job?
No, I don't want to talk about individuals. It's not about Adrian. You know, organization is not led by an individual. It is an amalgamation of different skills. You have staff, you have the board. So it's not about the CEO. But your ability to engage all the actors is very critical.
Stakeholders.
The stakeholders, the members, how often do you engage the members? How do you engage into a discussion? Media, fraternity, and I was visible in all media platforms, including CNBC and others, CNN and the BBC. So when you do an advocacy, you have to deploy different tools. It's not about your technical capabilities.
Before you go far from
yes.
that,
yes,
I believe you love love the purpose and the reason for the existence of the East African Business Council. What do you think is leading to the decline, and what can you advise right now? If someone is to watch this and see, and is among the people leading now the institution,
yes,
what would you say? What would you tell them? What do you see that is lacking? Because I'm sure, as someone who has led it,
yes,
and you've seen what is happening, I think you have the blueprint of what can be done right now.
I do, and I'm always ready and capable to support. EABC, let me give you the historical background of East African Business Council. It was established in 1997. It should have been the most prominent, most effective organization within the region. But when you look at the historical, and that's the challenge I also encountered, when you look at the historical background, why EABC, I'm the longest serving CEO. It has had more than 5 CEOs, but I was the longest. And I didn't even complete my 5-year tenure. I completed only 3 years.
Why?
But because of governance challenges.
Why?
The governance, I'm telling you, when I talk about governance, I talk about the board, the composition of the board, the capacity and the capability of the board. If you want to really reposition EABC, there is a need for total overhaul of the board. And it's not about the CEO, it's not about the staff, it's not about the member. But the structure and the composition of the board has been one of the key challenges within EABC. And if you want to revamp it and reposition it, you must reignite, reform, work on the structure of the board and the composition of the board. And the board principles have to be adhered to. But that's an organization where you could find perhaps board members stay there for more than 10 years. I've never seen in my career when a board member is in the organization for more than 10 years.
Unbelievable.
Yeah? So it becomes, you cannot support the growth of that organization. It's like even a family, you get old, you bring in your young people, young blood to develop the institutions. So I think that's, in my view, that's what needs to be done. It's not about the CEO, it's not about the staff or members.
So the East African Business Council needs to look at how to change the board.
The governance, it's the governance structure.
It's governance structure.
To instill and reconfigure its structure to be effective, to be lean. By the time I was, by the time I was the CEO, I've never seen it anywhere, where an organization has 24 board members. Making a decision becomes difficult. And even appeasing 24 board of directors from different countries. From different, each country had 4. Imagine we are moving to 32 board directors. It is a classroom.
Where
everyone you need to take into consideration his or her interests.
I get it.
So that's why generally my inability to complete my tenure was due to the.
If you are to be sincere,
yes.
If you are to be sincere with someone who is holding the position that you hold last time,
yes,
is this person going to really to manage, or you would advise if he wants to work well, he should look at that or two?
No, that is it. By the time I left, before I left, we even hired a consultant. And the consultant made a proposal on how to really reshape and rework on the board structures and the structure of EABC to be an effective organization. Because the endemic problem that EABC faces was totally emanating from the structure, from board structure, from governance structure. Rules are not adhered to, regulation are not adhered to. So you couldn't, you could find yourself, you are working to appease someone instead of delivering the mandate of the organization. So that is really, for me, from a professional point of view, I said I wouldn't manage.
And this is someone considered to be higher, according to you.
Yes.
This is someone who can make you sacked.
That is it. The board has a power. Even that time, they terminated my contract illegally, without even a notice, without someone said, you are not appeasing me the way I want. I can fire you, I can hire you, you will not You not report me anywhere. This is a private sector organization, and those are some of the challenges. So the structures, the rules and regulations of the organization are not properly adhered, and that comes from the top. I think that's why I think a number of organizations struggle from a leadership crisis, governance crisis.
As someone who you consider yourself as a Rwandan, no?
Yes, I'm a Rwandan.
You're
Surely
Rwandan.
Rwandan.
Okay.
My two parents, my mom, my dad.
Oh wow, that's
are born from here.
So, what are some of the things that you are proud of? Policy interventions that you're proud of that you've worked on the side of Rwanda by the time you were there?
No, let me tell you, first of all, not even in terms of policies. Rwanda is a perfect and excellent country. I've been reading a recent report by the World Bank called the Be Ready. Be Ready report, that is meaning business ready. And I wish I had that position in Rwanda. I would be far, the organization would be far. Because when you look at the pillars of that Be Ready, you look at the operational efficiency, you look at the public service delivery, you look at the regulatory framework, the laws here are respected, which is totally different from the region. And you look at that World Bank report published in last year, 2024, Rwanda is almost number one globally, in terms of public service delivery, in terms of operational efficiency, and even legal and regulatory framework.
Is that a fact? Rwanda is considered number one, by the way you see it?
The way you see the time, maybe for the time to respond to your email, the time to register your business, the time you get the services from the government, like this integrated case management and judiciary. You look at how you apply for your land permit. In our neighboring countries, it can take even 2 years if you want to get. You are coming from Uganda and I've been in Uganda, Kenya.
That's a
it takes more than 2 years to get a construction permit. Here in Rwanda, in 2 days, until everything. I think everything is digitized. So now you are trying to eliminate inefficiency. And when you eliminate inefficiency, you reduce what we call transaction costs and enhance productivity. And when even you look at the reports and when you look at the country, like the fastest growing countries in Africa, Rwanda is number one because of efficiency in all fronts, be it from private sector point of view, be it from public sector point of view. Look at how many. I was talking to my colleague from Germany. He said even in Germany it takes more than 2 weeks to get a passport. In Rwanda it takes 3 days to get a passport, and you apply online. So I think...
and at RDB it takes only 24 hours. You have your certificate.
No, when I came back from EABC to register my advisory council in EABC, it took me 6 hours. I registered in the evening. Next day, I had my certificate, everything. My company is already incorporated.
You are a known person.
Not known, no. But that's why I'm saying people are mistaken. I did apply online. And I
agree 100%.
I know the CEO of EABC, of RDB, but I didn't go through that. I did everything online. So that's how I always say Rwanda is not because I'm a Rwandan, but it's really the perfect place to do business. And also, if you are a CEO in Rwanda, you are given all the tools to deliver. There is no excuse for you not to deliver.
Yeah.
Yes. So incompetence, your incompetence is embedded within you. It's not that the government has not given you the tools to deliver.
It's always upon you to deliver.
But in my organization, like where I was coming from, EABC, and you are struggling. I took 6 months without my salary, but I had to look for money.
So you were saying that it only takes it took you only 6 hours.
6 hours to be incorporated in Rwanda. My company to be incorporated in Rwanda. So that's really tells you. The development paradigm of this country and how Rwanda is moving.
I strongly believe that when you are at EABC, you would also put Rwanda as a priority. That's what I think. That you would also consider that, what is it that is lacking back in my home? back home that I can also advocate for? What are some of the few things or things that you remember that were changed here to do with doing business in East Africa that were among your advocacy?
No,
for Rwanda?
Let me say maybe my leadership and I would say that I treated all the countries at the same level.
Okay.
And that is the principle governing EABC, governing EAC Secretariat. You treat all partner states at the same level.
At the same level.
You don't lean towards one country because you're Rwandan, you lean towards Rwanda. But what we did, even a number, like I used to have meetings here, I used to have meetings in Uganda, engaging and ensuring that we open. But generally what I pushed was that we ensure a seamless movement of goods and service. We ensure borderless East Africa for trade and investment. And that means that even Rwandan could do business in Kenya or could do business. I used to go to DRC, Bukavu, where I wanted to open up for Rwandan to do business. And that was my primary occupation, or my primary role was to ensure that you open the doors for the Rwandan also to do business across the region. And that's what I did. And that's why I was also in my competence and capacity to ensure that businesses or product from Rwanda are not hindered, either in Tanzania or in Kenya or in Uganda. They could enjoy the same preferences and the same privileges. So I pushed for that. But when you look at the facets of the pillars of EAC integration, you could also find that Rwanda is ahead of other countries in terms of those pillars, trade integration, macroeconomic convergence criteria. Rwanda was ahead of others. So sometimes you even see what do I push, because everything is already done. Is already done.
So you're saying that Rwanda is always ready.
It's always ready, even ahead of its peers. It's always ahead of its peers. And I wouldn't try to say so. In all facets of integration.
As someone who has worked in the East African body, I mean, what are some of the challenges that you see that keeps hindering trade among us? Because I'm sure there's trade going on, but there's more trade to be done.
Indeed, my view, and I'm happy that you're asking that question. When I joined the EABC, when I used to engage with the EAC Secretariat, and I said, why is our intra-regional trade is really 17-20%? Why can't it be? And with all the supporting infrastructure,
imagine 17-20%. We're just close to each other.
Yes. When we are neighbor to each other, and I would ask, what is preventing us from trading with each other? But I realized that the issue, the biggest challenge, or the biggest obstacle to trade, to intra-regional trade, why we're not doing that, is the protectionism. The level of protectionism within EAC is very, very high. And that's where I was really grappling with some of the challenges. Why are we protecting our small markets instead of opening up? Because when you're opening up, you are encouraging competition. When you encourage competition, you are also enhancing productivity.
Oh, we are scared of the competition you're talking about.
That is it. So we are still scared. And yet that shouldn't be the. So in my view, and that's the biggest, my view was that we are supposed to do a lot in supporting the private sector. Because we could even find that these NTBs, the number of NTBs were coming not from government, they were coming from private sector, from lobbying by the private sector. It was not the government erecting these NTBs, what we call non-tariff barriers on our borders. It was our big boys that were lobbying the government. So sugar from Uganda shouldn't access Kenyan market. So milk from Uganda couldn't access. It is going to kill Kenyan infant industry. So the level of protectionism was very, very high. And that's the law of EABC needed to ensure that you create what we call a level playing field. how would you ensure that that protectionism is addressed? And that's the work I used to do in terms of advocacy and engagement with the government, because we could do all the simulation, we could do the numbers, and he said, but these protections will not help your industry to grow. You need to open up. So that's the...
So failure to open up is the biggest challenge.
The protectionism, yes.
Protectionism is high.
It's very high.
People are scared of
their competitors from the region. So, but I'm happy to say that like Rwanda has embraced that. Look at how many banks, regional banks, are operating in Rwanda.
And of course, recently I saw that the Equity Bank was even the first to make a lot of profits in the country.
Yes, in the country. I&M Bank. Look at KCB Bank. You look at their balance sheet, they say Rwanda is the best market because of the efficiency. So I think it comes again back to the leadership and the interests. Generally, the regional integration is about interest. I always use 3 I's. It is about interest, incentive, and institutions. How do we lead and nurture strong institutions that are able to advocate, not massage interests or massage egos? How do we open up? How do we ensure that...
so you mean also these challenges we've been seeing in Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya, saying, don't bring your milk. Yes. The other saying, you don't bring your
meat. Don't export these. What the women go through in different
Those
borders.
Are all due to restrictions. And fear.
Fears of competition. That's why even our industrial level has been very low across the region, because of the protectionism. We are protecting inefficient producers or inefficient industries, and that wouldn't help the regional integration to grow.
Yes,
the trade to grow, intra-regional trade to grow.
So when you look at how the East African Business Council or East African trade is failing, or even regional trades are continuing to, fail because of what you are talking about right now.
Yes.
The fear of the restrictions put in place and the fear.
Yes.
Is AfCFTA going to be possible?
I'm happy I'm a champion under the CFTA. Even before I came for this podcast, I'll be presenting a paper under the CFTA. People forget that CFTA, African Continental Free Trade Area, is anchored under REX. If REX are not performing, CFTA will not. That is what we call a key principle. What has been agreed. So the CFTA is embedded under regional economic communities. So if EAC is not doing well, if ECOWAS is not doing well, if SADC is not doing well, I don't think the CFTA, because these are the building blocks
of course, the CFTA. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. So from a layman perspective, people want to jump and say, CFTA is going to bring a miracle. No, it will not work.
No. That's why I'm saying I don't believe it. Because if the East African bloc is not working,
how do you expect the Continental to... How will you jump?
How will you jump?
How will you jump? When you look at the current challenges, and I've been pushing, right? I even did... we did one of the paper under EABC on open skies. Imagine a ticket from here, Kigali to Kampala, costing $320.
Oh my God, a lot of money.
A lot of money. When 320 can take you to Dubai.
That's what I'm saying.
These are the restrictions.
How do you manage that?
When we did the simulation, the way we treat our airlines, they should be treated as domestic airlines.
Of course.
Because of regional integration. But currently, Rwanda Air, when it lands in Uganda, it is treated as an international airline. They charge it exorbitantly. The fees, the landing fees, airspace fees, and different charges.
I was informed that actually the ticket is not expensive, but the landing fees is what makes it expensive.
Landing fees and handling fees
is what makes it expensive.
Those are the restrictions.
I was told that going to Nigeria is above 1,000.
Yes.
I was like, come on.
Yes. So we need really to be serious and up our games in terms of our commitment to regional integration. Those are just simple things.
That brings me to a question that are we not really lying ourselves? Sincerely, let's be sincere. You are an economist, you are an expert.
Yes.
You know these things. If you're telling us that AfCFTA has already launched and is now starting to work, and we still have these challenges in our just regions, in our regional blocks, are we not playing on a rough road?
Indeed. That's why I think my response was very clear and straightforward, saying that CFTA, the building blocks for CFTA are the RECs. If RECs are not performing, they are not functioning, then CFTA will not work. It will be just a shell.
Of course.
Yes, that's what
how I see it too.
Yes, that's what it means.
No, because sincerely,
if you cannot, let me tell you, if you cannot trade with your neighbor from integration, from economic point of view, your best point of trade, when you are modeling trade, your neighborhood plays a critical role. Because the distance, what we call gravity, between you and your neighbor is reduced. So transport cost, when you trade with your neighbor, goes down. So that means that
trading with Uganda is what pushes you to Kenya.
To Kenya.
And from Kenya,
that is what pushes you to Ethiopia.
Of course. Yes, if you don't trade with Kenya, how are you going to meet?
It will be cost your products. How much you want to trade with Ethiopia?
Yes.
Where we want to trade with Djibouti, it will be exorbitantly high. It will be cost because of logistics nightmare. So those are just simple and basic economics.
So what would be the
terms of trade? So, and I responded that if we are serious about integration, we must open our borders. We must reduce those cabotage, the cumbersome procedures. We must remove restrictions. Assuming now that you remove all these charges for Rwanda Air, how many people every weekend would be flying to Nairobi, would be flying to Uganda, would be flying?
So many.
So many. But people fear to travel because of high costs. $300 is almost
500,000.
500,000.
It's 450,000 francs. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. So we take travel air flight as a luxury, yet it is a necessity. We've been, when you're in Europe, you move from one state to another just for $50, $100. So you spend you can spend your weekend in Uganda, you come work in Rwanda, then every Friday it is $100.
Definitely.
So I think this is why I'm saying that if we are serious, we must lower the transaction cost. We must remove restrictions. We must remove all those embedded charges that are restricting trade, are restricting movement of people, movement of services, even movement of capital.
So are there some new policy reforms that you think can resolve these challenges that we have? Because I would love to see Rwanda freely trading with Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania.
No, the policies are there, but the issue is the ability to implement those policies. All those policies, they are within the treaty, they are within different protocol, customs union protocol, common market protocol, the NTB Act. So all those are well read, well prepared, and even they articulate the benefits. And I think when we were pushing for open sky policy in the EAC, and during our modeling, we indicated that we would be creating 50,000 jobs if we remove these cabotage, these restrictions. And it will be every year, the East Africa will be gaining $200 million by just removing those charges and restrictions for our airline. So it's not because of there are no policies, but the ability to make a decision, a consensus. One country accepts, another one will not accept. And EAC is governed by consensus. If one doesn't agree, then things go back. So that's the whole issue. And I think that's the political element, which is beyond the business element. For the business community, they would be happy to see that the restrictions are removed. And that's how they can make money. So, business are driven by profit.
Mr. Kalisa, seriously, tax harmonization has been a big topic, big challenges discussed around the region.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot is being done, but I don't think it's enough. What do you think are still some challenges on tax harmonization that still hinders trade to be done as the way it's supposed to be done, and making it easy for everyone to feel free to do trade in the region?
I think one is that harmonization, that's why we always argue about, and we did a number of papers on monetary union, on tax harmonization, and we looked into all the aspects. And you would even understand that most of our countries really depends on indirect taxes. They depend on taxation to provide what we call public goods, health services, education, infrastructure. So until you develop the local capacity to collect taxes like VAT, income tax, it is still challenges to ensure that harmonization happens, because again, because of our economies are largely depending on these other indirect taxes like customs duties. And I think that is the embedded challenge in terms of are you able to relinquish the collection of customs duties so that you enhance your domestic tax collection? That has been a big challenge, and you find that the convergence has been really, some countries are still grappling, others are doing well. So that's why even monetary union has not happened, because it requires that your system are fully harmonized fiscal systems.
Monetary union. I mean, according to you, do you think it's an issue to think?
It's still a pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream. Even I don't think by 2035 it will happen.
I don't think.
Because again,
everyone is still clinging on much on their own.
And you look at their asymmetries, the differences, and so that's why I'm saying that for monetary union to happen, the common market should be up and running, should be working. The customs union should be working, and some aspects are working, others are not working. So that's why it's still a challenge, and even that's why the tax harmonization issues has been really lagging behind, because of the convergence requirements, so convergence criteria that are required for proper functioning of tax harmonization. Even you find that like now we do have different tax rates. In Kenya, VAT is around 16, Rwanda 18, I think others 18. I think even income tax, some are, I think recently Rwanda has lowered income tax, others are raising income tax because they are. So it can't. Other regions should at least harmonize even the rates.
The rate of
yes.
income tax.
Otherwise, you are creating what you call
supposed to be one rate.
Yes, you're creating what you call business distortion.
Yeah, because when I get goods from the other side, I'm sure that here the rate is the same. But if it's not the same, then I have to think of what goods to
where do I reposition myself?
Yes.
Where do you always do business where the tax rates are low? So you're creating your internal competition.
Before you even import things, you have to know where am I taking them? Yes. What cost am I going to incur?
Yes. And I think that's those are some of the intricacies and the challenges that are within our community. Until we decide and say we are ready to really move towards common market, full-fledged common market. And we implement all the freedoms, we are ready to move into monetary union and support those countries that are weaker. So that is how integration will function. But within the current context, it's still a big challenge.
But seriously, with a lot of trade wars that are going on in East Africa. By the way, we have indirect trade wars. We have a lot of indirect trade wars that are going on. I don't think that's something to happen soon.
That's why I'm saying, and I gave an example, if just a simple example, if the Ugandan milk cannot access Kenyan market, or Kenyan manufactured goods cannot access Uganda or Tanzania, and we've been seeing that on a number of borders. Even people not crossing the borders, you are subjected to a lot of bureaucratic delays, administrative issues, it becomes a challenge. And when we should be operating within one common area or one common space. So until we address that and dismantle all those barriers, it is still a challenge to move towards a continental free trade area.
Infrastructure and logistics is really key for trade. Are you proud of the infrastructures we have so far in the region?
Indeed, let me say I'm very proud. I'm very proud in terms of investment in productive infrastructure within the region. I've been moving across the region. All countries, all governments have heavily invested into infrastructure, especially trade-enabled infrastructure. And even in my previous work with Trademark, we established one-stop border posts. We established almost 16 one-stop border posts across the region. No any other region that has such a kind of infrastructure, high-quality infrastructure. So what needs to be done?
Are you the lead of one-stop, one border post? Are you the lead? Are you the one who participated more in having one border post?
No, we were a team, as I said. Okay. Like now in Nimuri, you can even Google me. Nimuri, I single-handedly handled Nimuri one-stop border post. That is the border between Uganda and South Sudan. Because I was the lead for that one. I was part of the Kajitumba one-stop border post when I was still here as a senior program manager. So I've been part of this, but Trademark is a big organization. We had around 200 staff. So I wouldn't say I was not
sure. I get it.
Yeah, we had even a department responsible for infrastructure. But to respond to your question, we have excellent infrastructure. What we need to work on is soft infrastructure. Our mindset shift, the ability of our people to use the infrastructure in a proper way, in a proper manner, in an efficient way. It's not about when you go to the borders. In the border, you can even go with a bus. If we are from Kigali to Kampala, the roads are not bad. But the ability for our people to really support the soft part of infrastructure is the one that is required. Some areas you don't get network. The digital infrastructure now is the key that we need to work on across the region. But hard infrastructure, I'm happy with what has been done. And in my view, the regulatory framework around the infrastructure need to be enhanced. Then remove those restrictions, as I said, the cabotage, the laws that are not harmonized, the fees we impose on our trucks crossing borders, which are not harmonized. So as long as we work on that soft component, I have no doubt that the infrastructure can facilitate trade, can grow intra-regional trade to a good level.
When you look at it's been years when these countries, regional countries, were planning to have a standard gauge railway.
Yes.
And I think it has failed.
Yes.
Don't you think really what we need mostly is actually the standard gauge railway is one of the things we need mostly among many other things in the region to have, so that trade can be be made possible and easy for even traders?
Let me say that I don't believe in that. That's why I'm saying that the big challenge we have is not about this hard infrastructure. Even the trucks we have. And I remember and it was around, I think, 2007 when we did a study. It was with PSF, where three were led by our current ambassador to South Africa, Emmanuel Hatejeka. We drove from here to Mombasa, then from Mombasa to Dar es Salaam. And we are counting number of road blocks, all-way bridges around the road. Then we compiled the paper, position paper, we submitted it, and there was a discussion around how do we really reduce these roadblocks and other associated charges around the inlet. By that time, it used to take 21 days for a truck for a truck carrying goods to distinct Rwanda, from Mombasa to Rwanda, to Kigali, it used to take 21 days. But when those roadblocks were removed through advocacy, through high-level engagement, it now takes minimum 4 days.
From 21?
From 21. And so the time and the cost went down. That's why I'm saying that even we using the logistics we have in an efficient manner would be sufficient to grow into a regional trade than talking about standard gauge railway. That would be complementary, but it shouldn't be a panacea to the growth of intra-regional trade or to the easy movement of goods and people. So that's why I'm saying that the mindset shift, we need a kind of a new paradigm shift in terms of the way we treat, the way we work, and the regional integration agenda. So it's not about standard gauge. I'm saying you can use the minimal resources to achieve a lot of results.
I mean, agriculture remains a backbone of East Africa economies. How can contract farming and value addition be leveraged to boost food security and export competitiveness? Export competitiveness.
I'm happy you're asking me that question. Generally, one of my previous work and assignment was the trade officer. Before I joined the trademark, I was responsible for East African Farmers Federation.
Wow.
And I was based in Nairobi and at Arusha. And my role was also to address those issues that impeding the movement of agricultural produce within the region. The issue we have within agriculture sector is not about production or productivity or contract farming. The issue is the market access. The NTBs associated with agriculture is that's what frustrates smallholder farmers. It's not about contract farming. It is not about weather index insurance. All those instruments are in place. And I used to do a lot of advocacy around that. But have you created a neighboring environment for the farmers who are producing Irish potatoes, who are producing beans to access the market in the right way? The farmers have the right information? Do they have the right instruments, including the seeds, the inputs? So you need to stimulate the entire value agri-value chain, agriculture value. You need to stimulate it. The post, and I made it, and I used to mention the post-harvest losses was almost 40% of the output.
Of the total
investment? The total output from agro-produce.
Oh, that's a lot.
You lose because you don't have proper handling facilities from the farm to the market. So that's
proper handling facilities of post-harvest.
Yes, from that post-harvest losses was very high. It is still high in East Africa than in any other region.
So produce, but they don't have where to store the produce.
Yes, where they have to store the produce. And how to move the produce from one area to another. So those have been one of the issues around our food security, our food insecurity.
So how are you handling that?
That's why I'm saying that the way I used to do it, because I was covering 11 countries by then, we used to engage the farmers. We used to engage the service providers. And another aspect that I didn't mention about is the perception around the risks on agriculture. There is a perceived risk element, even among the banks, to lend money to the agriculture sector. So what we used to do under East African Farmers Federation is to bring all the actors together and also see how we de-risk the farmer. We create instruments that would give confidence to our banks to give money to the farmers. Also, de-risk the insurance, because even insurance were not wouldn't love
to believe them.
They didn't believe that this is going to happen.
Give you this money. How am I sure that you're going to bring it back?
Yes. So I think those are some of the instruments. Contract farming was good. Weather insurance index was good. financial services and the guarantees to agriculture were some of the instruments that we had initiated and engineered. Agra is doing a commendable work under Agnes when she was still Karibata. She did excellent work under Agra, and I used to engage her. I used to engage her team. They were doing amazing work around agriculture. And what we were even doing was linking our corridors, transport corridors and trade corridors to agriculture. So that instead of a truck bringing imported goods to Kigali and go back empty, you could pack, or you could locate. For example, matoke from Ntungamo, then you take it to Kampala. But the problem, and which I always mention, was the cabotage. Cabotage, those are the restrictions. A Rwandan registered truck wouldn't be allowed to pick matoke from Ntungamo and drop it in Kampala, even now. If it is a Rwandan, but Ugandan is allowed, but a Rwandan cannot be allowed to do that.
Why?
That's why I'm saying because the Rwandan truck is treated within the region as a foreign truck. And should be, we are in the same community, it should be treated as a local truck. As a regional truck.
As a regional truck.
As a regional truck. So it shouldn't be subjected to various laws and regulations. And those are the challenges that are impacting on the business.
So as we end this conversation, what are some of the strategies that have been put place by AfCFTA that the East African Bloc can utilize and make use of? Before they go into the fights of...
As I mentioned, I'm a champion. I was appointed by His Excellency Obasanjo to be a champion of the CFTA. I'm an ambassador for the CFTA, especially promoting intra-African trade. So when you look at the architecture behind the CFTA, it was signed here in Kigali on 21st March 2018, and there was a lot of excitement.
Yeah, I know.
Excitement that we are going to trade amongst ourselves from the current level of 17% to 51%. There was a lot of simulations done by UNECA, World Bank. Within 5 years, we will grow intra-African trade from current 17% to 51%. But with the caveat, with the strong caveat.
Which has not even happened on the regional blocks.
That is what I'm saying. Or with the caveat that non-tariff barriers need to be removed. With the caveat that restrictions need to be removed. So, CFTA and its protocols and annexes is a very flagship program under the African Union, or under the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. Because really, when you look at the instrument behind the CFTA, the infrastructure component, the promotion of regional and continental value chain, the removal of those NTBs, it is the solution for Africa, because it is through trade that we are able to generate prosperity. So I think from an administrative point of view, good commendable work or positive strides have been made. A number of protocols have been concluded, including the protocol on women and youth, the competition, investment. All these protocols have been fast-tracked, by the way, fast-tracked in terms of signing off. And now we are at the phase of the implementation. So when you look at the implementation arrangement, and even today I was speaking in one of we must prepare the private sector. We must prepare the private sector. We must know the market requirements. If I want to export tea from Rwanda to Ghana, what are the requirements in Ghana? What are the rules? Because these rules, despite the protocol, they are not harmonized. And sometimes the traders, exporters, and importers get frustrated
when they meet these challenges.
They face these challenges. Because the way we speak about it, everything, there is a smooth flow of goods, and which is not right. when you go to different airports, when you go to different border posts, the requirements are totally different. So more engagement, and I always say that trade facilitation governance need to be worked on under the CFTA.
So what would be the last word you would give to East African traders that you think everyone needs to hear now?
No, the word to the business community in East Africa is the resilience. Is building further and more resilient. Resilient in terms of undertaking the business opportunity, because business environment, I would say, and I want to also say that East Africa, we are doing much better than other ex. So we need really to navigate through those complex regulatory framework across our continent, but we need to do business. So the entrepreneurship, the shrewdness of our business community, they shouldn't lose momentum. They should continue with the courage. And I think the political will is there, and the political commitment is there. But more important than engagement, proactive engagement with our governments, with our government and development partner is very critical to ensure that we reap the benefits provided by the CFTA. We always talk about a lot of benefits, market access benefits. We are talking about those 6 billion consumers, 3.4 trillion US dollars. It's a wider market of 1.3, almost 1.4 billion people. So that is an opportunity for the business community, especially investing in logistics, investing in a regional value chain, like pharmaceutical, agro-processing, automotive, creative sector is growing, and I'm happy I'm part of that. I'm also doing some investment in Gatsibo. I'm happy to say that I'm really putting a lot of effort in tourism, because that is also a sector that is growing, and I'm impressed. But also arts and creativity is very important. So my final word that to you and the team, and I want really to commend you, the voices. We need to work closer together to raise the voices of the business community, the voices of citizens, and ensure that really our people benefits from regional integration and continental integration agenda. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you, and please, let's hope the next time when we need you, we'll get you here back to discuss more on business.
Thank you very much, and really I want to thank you and your team. You are doing great work, and count on me. Wherever I'm invited, I'm ready to share my insights and views.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time,
Thank you.
the viewers of the Voices podcast. Today we had Mr. John Bosco Kalisa on our podcast. Next time we have someone new. Please go watch our podcast and check out and learn more about business. See you next time. My name is Arafat. Bye for now.